Jonesy and Amanda.
Jam Nation.
How very exciting. This man is Australia's most beloved scientist. But how did Dr Karl become this eccentric genius that we know today? After wandering down more than a dozen career paths, studying 5 degrees, living the life of a crazed hippie, Dr Karl is sharing all of this in his new memoir called A Periodic Tale. Dr Karl, hello.
Dr. Amanda, how lovely to be with you again.
You know, what's interesting is that when I was a segment producer on the midday show, probably 40 years ago, would it have been maybe more than that? I was, you and I were both junior burgers. You were studying a medical degree and I was a producer, and I was producing your stories for the midday show, and you were talking about climate change then. It's the first time anyone had ever heard of it.
Wow, and I remember how you started off with a guest not turning up, and so they shoved you on air. And blow me down, you performed like a professional, and it was a lucky break. And isn't it wonderful how sometimes you need that mixture of luck and talent and hard work, and in your case it paid off, and it paid off for you.
Is that when the ferret guy didn't show up, so Amanda had to shove a ferret down her pants?
No, I just chose to. I just chose. The Pope wasn't there, so I put a ferret down my pants.
The airport, I think, and they weren't there or something like that.
Oh, wow. Something like that. I'd probably still have triggered dreams about being a producer.
There's a chapter in your memoir about drug-crazed hippie years, and you're a long-haired, dope-smoking taxi driver.
Yeah, I was very lucky in retrospect. In that, firstly, I didn't end up being busted by the cops doing illegal things, which I was, and I do not. I highly recommend do not do illegal things, because you might end up sharing a cell with a very large man with love and hate tattooed on their knuckles, which is a bad thing to have happen. And the other thing was I was lucky when I did the dope smoking thing, doing it after my brain had matured around in my early 20s.
Right.
And I was also lucky that I didn't have the gene that sets you off for schizophrenia, which some people have. So I was kind of lucky on that as well.
So would you be an advocate for weed? Because for a long time I watched that thing on YouTube about the demon weed, and there's a theory that alcohol demonized marijuana.
It goes from a pharmacological point of view in terms of how it behaves, affects people in society. There's not a lot of difference, except the big difference is if you talk to the cops in New York, where it's now legal, that there's much less violence.
Oh,
so the people are still a bit off their faces. They're not making rational decisions, and so you've got to be factoring that in, but there's much less violence. And so we have 2 states in Australia where it's not demonised. Is that South Australia and Canberra?
Yep.
So whatever the law is, don't bust the law.
There you go.
Your parents were Holocaust survivors. I've read before that some children of Holocaust survivors are hypochondriacs because a lot of parents say, oh, don't worry, this won't kill you, whereas Holocaust survivors know that terrible things can happen. Did this shape your childhood?
Enormously. So it was the weirdest thing. So in the case of my father, everything he told me was true, and I didn't believe it because he was a bit of a journalist. And in the case of my mother, she lied about everything, her name, her age, where she was born, her religion, all to cover up the terrible things that had happened to her. It was like she was a new person that had been reinvented. And the weird thing about migrants is that the first thing, when migrants come to a country, their crime rate is really low. Secondly, their children get educated because the parents have got nothing. They're working all these really crappy jobs, and they say, get educated because that way you can be an engineer and earn a good income. So the children also have a lower crime rate, but the children of the children, the third generation, they have the same crime rate as the people in the country. So if you want to drop the crime rate in any country, just get rid of all the locals and bring in the migrants.
But that's what happens, though, doesn't it? Because you get, like, say, people from Middle Eastern countries that came out here in the 70s during the Great Civil War and stuff like that, and they were just happy to get out of there. But now their kids, who are about my age, they've formed those gangs and things like that. Is that because they had it too good here?
Well, they've just become local. So I've seen in one of the suburbs of Sydney the words Muslims out, and wait for it, it was written in Vietnamese.
Right.
So it was a third generation of the Vietnamese who are now as racist as the locals.
There it is.
I don't know what to read into any of that.
Do you think that we're getting dumber? Are we, because all of a sudden there's flat earthers that have a platform now. They're talking about flat earth. Reasonable people are now saying maybe the moon landing was faked.
Interesting. Look up ABC, Dr Karl and Smarter, or Flynn effect, FLYNN. So back in the so Flynn worked out that the IQ is going up by 9 IQ points every generation, and he looked at the military records of IQs taken in America from 1932 to the present, And the IQ is going up in the military by 9 IQ points every generation, and in American civilians, and in every country around the world where you bother to measure it. So on one hand, the kids are getting smarter, and we don't know why. On the other hand, the knowledge is different again. And so, for example, on TikTok, okay, question without notice, Dr. Amanda, Dr. Jonesy, on TikTok, what percentage of medical information is accurate? Dr. Jonesy, pick a number.
I'd say 20%.
Dr. Amanda?
7.
2.
2%.
2. That's why I go on TikTok to try and set it straight again. That's why I went there the first time, because there are all these lies. So on one hand, there's massive disinformation powered by the desire to do advertising. So each time you click on a home page, now, you might see something like Amanda Jones has suddenly been reincorporated, revealed to be an alien. And you think,
true.
I believe that.
Yeah. And so you click on it. By the act of clicking, in the first 100th of a second before things start to appear on your screen, your information, have you ever seen your Google Doc information?
No.
It's about 14 gigs. So you had a cup of coffee here, then you stopped over there for a while. Oh, and then you bought some shoes for somebody. So everything you have done is mapped there.
Wow.
So all that information is then offered to 500 advertisers around the world, who then bid between 1 and 5 cents for the right to show you the 20 ads on the next homepage you go to.
But why can't the information be correct? If we're going to be on those platforms, and sure, I know I'm being data mined, why can't the information be correct?
Very deep question. You know, Dr. Jonesy, this is what I love about Amanda. She is frighteningly intelligent. You are, in fact, smarter than me, because you know to ask the better questions. On the other hand, I'm better educated because I've been to university for longer, because once upon a time the Australian government thought that education was a worthwhile investment in the future. Now they don't.
Yeah, I got a free one too.
Yeah, oh really? So getting back to your question, so we are wired up for anything unusual. So 200,000 years ago, walking around Africa, and there's a rustling in the undergrowth, and it's a bit of khaki flash, and you think, oh, is that a lion? So we are wired up to pay attention to anything that's unusual. So if we see something saying, Amanda Jones is going to be on radio tomorrow, or Amanda Jones is an alien, you'll click on that, because we are wired up to look for things that are different, because it might be threatening.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and it might kill you. So it's a survival characteristic built into us from evolution.
Well, Karl, we want you to stick around, because we've got some questions. We put a
I
thing
love
out.
questions.
There's questions from people, reasonable questions. Will you hang around for us?
And so I'll hang around for everything.